Hey everyone, I've decided to do another video again because I had so much fun last week, so bear with this again. Apologies for any mess ups or ranting. But this week was even, I think, my most exciting week because I absolutely love this movie. I've loved it since it came out, so it was a good rewatch for me, with Portrait of a Lady on Fire. This movie I'm low-key emotionally attached to, so I can't really hate on it at all. I'm definitely gonna be a little biased with everything I say, but I think this movie is just so powerful in everything that it does, and I hope everyone else saw that as well. The question I want to be discussing for this week's post is how Syama's portrayal of queer desire could be seen as dangerous and even political in today's world. And I definitely agree with her take on this, because as a queer person, I indulge in a lot of queer media, and I think this film is like probably no other that I've seen depicting female relationships, honestly. And I think that has to do with the way she has the female gaze in it. A lot of women-loving relationships movies don't include the female gaze, and they are directed by men, which is really unfortunate because it's just not the same. And I think this movie does a really good job at portraying that gaze that has been lost in a lot of other queer media, which is why it is pushes the limits so much, because genuinely it is not like any other queer media movie that I have personally seen, which is why I'm so attached to it, of course. The film has a very slow build throughout the entire movie, and up until like the pretty intense ending, and even then it's still pretty slow, which could turn away audiences. But I think this is the reason why this movie is so good, because it focuses so much on their tension and less dialogue and more just honestly looks at each other. That is the big portion of this movie, is the way that they look at each other throughout, and you can see how their relationship builds through those gazes that they give each other. The progression of the way that they see each other not only shows through their gazes, but even through the paintings that are painted throughout the movie of Eloise. And I think that really shows with the first painting and how they trash it, because she didn't really capture Eloise to the full potential. And this is where you kind of realize that she's being looked at as an object in society. And this comes back around when Marianne looks at the painting in the gallery of Eloise that she didn't do, and it's very feminine, very soft, just like her first painting, and doesn't really have any of Eloise's real traits coming out of it, because it's not just her it's not her as a person, but more her as a object for the painting. The actress that actually plays Eloise says she wanted her character to not only progress as a person, but to progress from an object to a subject by the end of the film. I think the biggest example of this, honestly, is the final scenes where we just see Marianne staring at Eloise while she's unaware, and you see her listening to the, I think, orchestra of the summer section of Four Seasons, which is kind of considered their song throughout the movie. Honestly, I feel like it's played multiple times and is really considered like the way that they'll remember each other. So you just see Eloise completely having raw emotions. There's no boundaries, and she's just being watched by Marianne unknowingly. As an audience member, you're kind of left with the complete dread that they can't be together. But a more optimistic look that you can see is that they'll always have each other's memory. And from a quote earlier in the movie, perhaps he makes a choice. He chooses the memory of her. That's why he turns. He doesn't make the lover's choice, but the poet's. And I think that just perfectly sums up the way that I have concluded with this movie. And genuinely, this movie changed my life when it came out, and I think I actually love it more even now, honestly. And I feel like that is all I have to say about that. That is a good quote to end on. So I had a lot of fun this quarter, and yeah.